All right, welcome to a very special edition of Stitch Method. This is a dedication to my good friend and YouTube rock star, Sean Daniel. I was supposed to make this video about a month ago, but as you know, life happens. This is to celebrate his 100,000 subscriber count, which now is, I think, about above that, 104 or something like that. But this is to congratulate him, and in honor of doing something for Sean Daniel, I figured I would do something for his favorite band, which is Radiohead, and also do something that kind of describes Sean. You know, Sean is quirky, he is misunderstood, and he's mysterious, kind of like the diminished scale. And what we're going to talk about today is a very specific type of diminished scale. Now, when a lot of people hear the word diminished, you get very curious as to what does that mean and how to use it. And there are many ways to use diminished things, diminished scales, diminished chords, so many different ways. We're going to talk about one very specific way. And the walkaway from this is you want to listen to the results you get so that when you are writing something or when you hear something that you think sounds like what we're about to do, you're going to say, that has to be the diminished scale that guy Stitch was talking about. And it's a crazy scale, kind of like Sean Daniel. So let's get to it. Like I said, Sean, his favorite band is Radiohead, and I listened to Radiohead a long time ago. I don't really listen to them a lot anymore, and please don't take any offense, but one of the songs that struck me as amazing was the song Just, which has the opening. Now, if I'm playing it 100% correct, I don't know, as in the chord versions, but it has an opening like this. That's the first opening of it. And it's an incredible opening, so first we're going to talk about that, and you'll see how it ties into the diminished scale. We have these power chords, and it's the 3rd fret in the A string, to the 6th fret, to the 5th fret, and to the 8th fret. And when you look at this, you're going, well, where's that coming from? Well, it's coming from what we call the whole half diminished scale. And so let's first get into the scale talk, and then we can see what's going on. A whole half diminished scale is a frightening name, and there's also a scale called a half-whole diminished scale, and you kind of have to know both of them. Now, I'm not going to have a chart for this because you can easily Google whole half diminished or half-whole diminished and see the charts online, but let me explain to you why we have these differences. So first, if you look at what's called a whole half diminished scale, all it is you're picking a root note. Pardon me, because my computer is giving an error, and let's make sure, okay, we're still good. we have a root note, and from there we're going to take a whole step jump. So root note, whole step, and then a half step. Okay, so you have root, then you have whole, and you have half. And then what you need here is you got to take another whole step, whole. But you can get that note up here. So you have root note, whole half, then whole, then whole half, then whole half. Oh, actually whole half. So if you look at your charts, you have a root note, then you have a whole step and a half step, and then a whole step, then a half step, and then a whole step and a half step, then a whole step and a half step, and that you keep on going until you run out of room, and it's just a root note, then a whole step and half step. Now let me show you why this is called diminished scale. And again, the word diminished means a lot, but when you're talking scales, it means definitely a flat 3 and a flat 5. So if you started this scale here, you would have a major second as your whole step, then you would have your flat 3. Cool, it's a good ingredient to have for a diminished scale. And then you would end up here, and then you would end up here. Okay? And if you look, that's your flat 5. 1, flat 3, flat 5. Just by following this pattern of root note, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, you can see that you landed on a 1, a flat 3, and a flat 5. Now let's discuss, again, you can do it all the way through, you can look up the charts, they're easy to see, you can do them, but now let's look at a half whole, which is the same exact thing, but you're starting on the half step. So here's a root note, then you take a half step, then you take a whole step, and then you're going to take a half step, and then you're going to take a whole step. And if you look here, if I do it on one string, you have the 5th fret is your root note, 6th fret is your half step, whole step to your 8th fret, there's your flat 3, okay? 1, flat 3, it's in the same position. Then a half step to here, that's your C sharp, so I just brought it here. Then a whole step, and lo and behold, you have the 1, the flat 3, and the flat 5. So no matter what, which one you choose, you're going to end up with a diminished type of scale, a scale that has a 1, a flat 3, and a flat 5. Hope I'm doing a good job explaining this. So you have two types of half whole or whole half diminished scales. what the heck do you do with them though, right? Like, why do they exist? Well, these two examples, I just let the cat out of the bag, huh? Two examples. I'll get to the second example at the end. This example in Radiohead, you can see how they start off this progression with a whole half scale. It's a root note, and they're going to use 3, 5, 6, and 8. And if you can see, you have the root, you have a whole step, you have a half step, and you have a whole step. And they play in a certain order where they go from the root and they go up to this minor third. And they play as chords. Now this begins again. And it keeps on going, and if I can remember how the line goes, on top of this diminished progression, or this diminished scale progression, they throw another diminished scale progression on top of it, which is awesome. So if you have a riff based on, a diminished scale, you can throw a diminished scale on top as a lead and create a lot more tension. And it goes... it stops. Now that was just whole and half steps with a little flub there. You have the 3, that's 5, 6. I'm playing octaves, by the way. Boom, bop, okay, boom, bop, bum. And then 8, 9, 11, 12. Now you're going to skip to the 9th fret of the D string, play the octave on the B string with your pinky. And you have 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, and then, where am I? Oh God, 18, 19? Like that. And we stop right there. Oh, I'm off the screen. So they ride this whole entire progression, this whole entire whole half. If I didn't suck, on top of a diminished progression. I leave all my flubs in. I really don't care. I'm sure you're smart enough to get the point. So, just take a step back and let's listen. When you listen to the song Just, which, by the way, Sean Daniel deserves his just dues with 100,000 subscribers. Sorry. You can hear this tension-building effect of writing a diminished scale riff and using the whole half or half whole, depending on what your ears hear, on top of it. And it gets to a point, and they get up here in the end, I believe they end on the A, right? They end on the A. Here. Yeah, and then they start on an A. And the song starts like right here in the A, and they go through the song. So they build tension using the diminished riff, and then a whole half diminished scale going up top. You want to listen to it. You want to understand that, so that when you hear a song that builds tension in that way, you'll be like, that sounds like a diminished scale. And also, if you're writing a song and you want to move tension, you can try putting in a diminished scale riff that will move the tension to a point that you like, and then you can resolve it many different ways. Now, we're not getting to the resolve part, but usually, 9 times out of 10, when you get to a part of tension where you're like, oh my god, that's perfect, you're going to be able to hum where the resolve is, and you're going to go. Now, this wouldn't be a Stitch Method video unless I got my influences in here. As you know, one of my favorite bands is Fish, and the song "It's Ice," which is an incredible song. If you want to listen to it, you can. I say you can ignore the singing, but just listen to the guitar work, the bass work, and the drum work, and it's incredible. And right before the solo, there is a diminished riff that comes in. Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I want to explain something to you. It's the same exact thing that Radiohead is doing, and vice versa. Trey Anastasia will come in, he starts here, and then he's going to go right to this 5th fret of the A, and he's going to play a half whole. And that's where I stop. But you can see him doing the whole entire thing. Like, the whole entire thing is a half whole diminished scale all the way to the top, and then he ends, I think, on the D. And so he gets all the way up there. And underneath what they're doing is every time at every certain point, the rest of the band is playing this diminished progression of like whole, half whole, and going back and forth and changing. You should really listen to it. Listen to the composition of the guitar part, and really get your ears on the bass and the keyboard player. You can hear this diminished scale creating tension all the way through, and how the other parts of the band are playing a diminished progression as well, with a whole and half progression. So this is a brief explanation. I hope that your heads aren't spinning too much. But a diminished scale creates tension, and a diminished scale has a flat 3 and a flat 5. You can write a riff against the diminished scale, and then you can put on top of it another diminished scale as like a lead line, which you have two songs that have examples of it, Just by Radiohead and It's Ice by Fish, and I'm sure there's hundreds of other songs that use this technique, but this is one way to use a diminished scale. I hope you enjoyed it. What your homework assignment would be, just in case you want to know, is go Google image search a whole half diminished scale or a half whole diminished scale so you can get your fingers on it and see if you can write a tension building part that leads somewhere, whether it's through just the scale work or whether you write a riff with the notes in the scale and then apply more scale work. And you can hear that it is unsettling. It's not something that you're going to write something that you stay on unless like you really want to create something with a lot of tension in a song. It's more of a transitionary piece that gets you somewhere. In Radiohead, it's the intro that leads to the verse, and in the Fish song, it's the part that leads before the solo, and it builds up and then the solo begins. So use this well, use this as a tension builder, as a bridge to a next piece. I hope this all made sense. Just let me know. See you in about 2 weeks probably. All right, bye guys. Hope you enjoyed.